To millions of television viewers, he's Basil Fawlty, the lunatic and bungling proprietor of Fawlty Towers, that run-down English hotel where nothing ever went right. In real life, he's John Cleese, a graduate in law from Cambridge and arguably one of the funniest men around. Basil Fawlty seemed to be heading straight for the bankruptcy court. John Cleese, on the other hand, is a successful businessman who's made lots of money telling other businessmen how to be successful.
Morning. Now look, I'm feeling rather irritated this morning. As your company's staff training executive, I've been getting suggestions from some of you that we should be using these John Cleese training films. Well...
John Cleese, businessman, exploiting John Cleese, professional idiot.
Yeah, we'll run it once with all the action.
What? How's your velvet?
Much better, thank you.
Okay, John.
Thank you, John.
The London studio set of one of dozens of training films his company now sells to 12,000 managements in any number of countries.
Please, settle down.
This is Cleese, please.
This is the rehearsal.
You can give me delivery now.
Absolutely.
Well, when?
Next Tuesday.
I can have a whole batch of new machines by next Tuesday.
No, you can have the delivery dates next Tuesday.
Oh, I see, but what about repairs and spares?
Oh, they don't break down. Well,
But as hard-headed as Cleese would like to be, the clown still has his way, even if his own crew and 60 Minutes are the only audience.
help, mother! The new ATV comedy feed.
Roddy McDowell without makeup.
What's the number we're doing?
Right.
To many among the millions of Cleese freaks throughout the world, the king of inspired lunacy has sold out.
Sorry, I'm a fool. What if I offer to sell you something that isn't suitable? I must be a fool.
His most die-hard fans must see using his unique style of humour to sell more bras, for example, as treason and sacrilege.
Don't like
Oh, no! Oh, no! It's not me! You hate me, don't you?
But Cleese these days is quite unashamedly selling his very own product.
Despise me!
Madcap comedy, thought by some to be more suited to a psychiatric ward than anywhere else.
I can't stand it!
Other people must have raised their eyebrows at the whole idea of you doing something like video art. So John Cleese has sold out. He's selling his talent in this very, very commercial way. Does that bother you?
No, because I'm only interested in selling my talent. I mean, I certainly don't have anything else to do with it. I would far rather not work than work. I would far rather be able to sit at home, read a book and listen to some music and go out and have lunch with a friend. That would seem to be a very nice way of spending a day.
Be as boring as the rest of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
I think that'd be terrific. So if I like the American attitude towards work, which is they talk about you do a job, they pay you compensation, you know, which in England means really some sort of damage or injury that you've suffered, which is really how I feel about work. So that if anybody wants ever to buy my talent, or even my soul preferably, because it's more expensive, I can give them my number.
In my book, staff training is a serious subject. No laughing matter. After all,
Like it or not, John Cleese is laughing his way to the bank selling his funny business films. A business to do pleasure with, as one august journal described it. Films telling business how to go about their business. Ironic stuff when you consider that Cleese's most famous character, Basil Fawlty, has to be one of the world's least successful hotel owners.
People actually like Basil Fawlty, you see. He's an awful man.
Basil was in fact based upon a character a real person,
That's
a real
right.
character that you met.
A guy who ran a hotel in Torquay, which is on the south coast of England, and we were staying there when we were making Monty Python. Well, we were filming for the Monty Python television series.
And he made even the smallest problem look like a major disaster.
Yes, well, he was one of those people, there's a lot of them in England. I don't think it's quite as prevalent in Australia, but the sort of people who, let's say, run a hotel, in this case, and his attitude, if it wasn't for all these bloody guests, he could run the hotel properly, you know? But every time he tries to run the hotel properly, a guest comes in and causes some problem by saying there's no bed in his room or something like that. You know, how can
That's
he...
a minor problem.
Right, and how can he run the bloody hotel if these pests are wasting his time on him?
You punts in here expecting to be waited on hand and foot while I'm trying to run a hotel here.
If you don't enjoy laughing at other people's expense, you're definitely not a Cleese fan. On camera, he spends most of his time haranguing, abusing, being sarcastic or bad-tempered.
This is exactly how Nazi Germany started. Nailed out with nothing better to do than...
So what's so funny about that?
I've had 15 years of pandering to the likes of you, and I've had enough. I've had it. Come on, pack your bags and get out.
Why is so much of your humour based upon abuse, sarcasm and haranguing people? You seem to do it most of the time in one of those John Cleese characters or another.
I think that's right. Well, I think I discovered early on that what I call hard-edged humour works. I mean, people find it funny. And
Why do you think people think it's funny to see other people being abused and yelled at and
well, it's what
harangued?
humour is about. Humour is about nastiness. It's about lust and greed and avarice and jealousy and sloth and indulgence and stupidity. You know, as an American once said to me, you show me a comedy series about St. Francis of Assisi and I'll show you a bummer, you know. I mean, the only thing you can do funny about St. Francis of Assisi is if the bird shits on it, you know? I mean, that's it. That's the joke. You know, the rest of the series is, you know, he's a terrific guy, but he's not actually funny.
So you can't be nice and funny at the same time.
That's right. It has to be about nastiness.
I don't believe it. Neither do I. Practice a dream. No, it's not a dream. We're stuck with it. Right.
Cleese humour is definitely offbeat and usually original. So much so that many find it hard to grasp. The Minister for Silly Walks, probably his best-known sketch from the Monty Python series. But oddly enough, Cleese himself is among those who have their doubts about it. We don't talk about the Minister for Silly Walks, apparently, anymore.
Oh, it's just, that's simply because I did it 11 years ago. 11 years ago. And for about 6 years, wherever I went in London, I used to get, "Oi, give us your silly walk then," or "Give us your funny walk then," which at 8:30 in the morning used to take the steam out of me sometimes. So I got a bit fed up with the sketch, particularly as I didn't think it was very funny.
You didn't think it was funny yourself?
Well, it was all right, but everybody else seems to think it's wonderful, but I hate the bloody thing.
Good morning. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, but I'm afraid my walk has become rather sillier recently, and so it takes me rather long. Now then, what was it again?
Thinking about it now, why does John Cleese make so many people laugh? I mean, you don't really do anything terribly special by way of humour. It's a logical sort of humour, but people fall about whenever you move, speak.
Well, I tell you, I do look a bit strange. For example, my new wife was explaining to me the other day how I moved. You know, I think she defined it. She said I looked as though I was half giraffe and half hovercraft, because the top bit kind of sways like this, but the bottom bit moves around very smoothly.
Well, it certainly looks as though we're in for a splendid afternoon sport in this, the 127th Upper Class Twit of the Year show.
The cult comedy of Monty Python's Flying Circus was the breakthrough for Cleese and his mad mates. It's popularised the Cleese stock in trade, that look of incipient insanity.
Nigel and Jamaica got the idea. All set to go. Oh, and they're off, and it's a fast start this year.
Off camera, however, the comedy world's tallest story reveals that his humour is anything but off the cuff. When we mere viewers see these things, we think of them as totally spontaneous ad-lib demonstrations of John Cleese's comic genius.
Persistence.
But they're not.
No. No, this is the hard thing. People used to say, "Do you ad-lib on Python?" We'd say, "Well, of course we don't ad-lib. The cameras wouldn't know when to cut, would they?" "Oh, what do you mean you've got a script?" But the point is, we're all writers, you see. I mean, that is what we are. We're writers who happen to act because A, it gets us a bit more money, and secondly, we're less likely to screw it up than anyone else because we know what it's about. There's only 5 days to learn it.
Do you think that a lot of those John Cleese fans out there would be a little disappointed to hear you say that you're not really all that funny?
Yes, I think they are. I think they are. And I think that very frequently the media are too. You know, they come along, what they really want to write is, yes, folks, in real life, John Cleese is exactly like Basil Fawlty. He told me how he slams the phone down. You see what I mean? So people have this expectation, and they're rather disappointed that you don't fulfill it.
I wish to make a complaint.
Sorry, we're closing for lunch.
Never mind that, my lad. I wish to complain about this parrot what I purchased not half an hour ago from this very boutique.
Oh, yes, the Norwegian blue. What's wrong with it?
I'll tell you what's wrong with it. It's dead. That's what's wrong with it.
What about the dead parrot? Because it has been described as the most famous consumer complaint in history.
That's rather nice. That's exactly what it is. I remember people came up to me and said, you know, what is this about? Is it about the crisis of identity in human beings in the 20th century or what? I said, no, it's about the impossibility of getting any service in England.
This parrot wouldn't boom if I put 4,000 volts through it. It's bleeding demise.
It's not. It's pining.
It's not pining. It's passed on. This parrot is no more. It has ceased to be. It's expired and gone to meet its maker. This is a late parrot. It's a stiff, bereft of life. It rests in peace. If you hadn't nailed it to the perch, it would be pushing out the daisies. It's run down the curtain and joined the crowd invisible. This is an ex-parrot.
You once said that to die in front of an audience when you were trying to be funny...
Oh, it's terrible.
The most excruciatingly embarrassing experience is what you said.
Yeah. All comics and all actors' stories are horror stories. It's a terrible feeling. That's why comics talk about dying. You see. Don't hear actors talk about dying in Shakespeare. Because the terrible thing about comedy is that it either works or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, nobody's laughing. So you can't fudge it. You can't come out afterwards like an actor can. So yes, very interesting. Interesting interpretation, a nice change of pace, lots of light and shade, you know? You died, full stop.
But in your case, no laughs.
No
you
laughs,
failed.
you died.
That's it.
Yes, you can't fudge that. You can't go into this thing about it. It's fascinating, you know, Visconti's ambiguity here, you know. Ambiguity, you know, ambiguity is what closed on Tuesday.
Or being funny or not being funny.
Yeah.
Simple as that,
Yeah.
really.
It's terrible because that's the hard thing about comedy. You're right down in the blood and the sand. You know, there's no way you can fake it.
You've tried it on just once too often! Right! Well, don't say I haven't warned you! I've laid it
A fake funny man John Cleese could never be, but blatantly commercial all the time, with no apology from the man who admits his lunatic talent is all he has to sell. So what does John Cleese's greatest critic think of all this?
I've never seen such rubbish.